Hi guys, this is Alod here, brand new video. This is Alod's best Dark Magician staples for June 2024, part 1. So let me start off with the extra deck, which is generally where we go to for the best staples anyway, barring hand traps. So first card up, Chaos Angel. Why Chaos Angel? Because it's very easy to get out in the Dark Magician, because it technically, with Dark Magician, doesn't actually need a tuner to special summon itself, and it gets you that banish. All you need to do is just basically send Magician Souls to the graveyard to special summon Dark Magician, summon Rod, use Rod's effect, or if it's negated, who cares. Send both those two cards to the graveyard, special summon Chaos Angel, and you get that extra banish. Now there are things that you can do if you do use certain light type monsters, like Ghost Ogre for instance is a tuner light, so you get both. If you use Ghost Ogre and Dark Magician, you'll get both of Chaos Angel's effects. Then we have Clear Wing Synchro Dragon and Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Now these two cards are very good. Now I appreciate the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon does, even though it does have a better negate effect, it is harder to summon in the fact that it needs some sort of synchro monster as opposed to like a normal monster like Chaos Angel would. Clear Wing Synchro Dragon practically does the same thing, except for it only does it with level 5 and higher effects. But those two are very good staples, especially considering that Borrelord Savage has been banned. Super Star Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. Now I do use this, but I'm not a big fan of the card, but I do appreciate it does have its abilities to negate those monsters with 3000 and above attack, which includes things like Dragoon, so be careful when you're playing against this card, Flamberg, and a few other things which you can actually attack into it in that case. So if you are using that card, you may want to have like a backup. Relinquished Anima, which is good, especially if you're using spell cards like Instant Fusion to get like Millennium Eyes Restrict out, which I also recommend as a decent staple using the Instant Fusion. Mud Dragon of the Swamp, basically because it's very good against Snake Eyes and those that use the same attribute but different types. Magnum the Reliever. Now this is good in any deck that's using any kind of fusion base. What I mean by that is I use Branded, so you can get rid of the Branded Fusion to use its negate ability. You know, if you're using Red Eyes Fusion, you can get rid of Red Eyes Fusion to use its ability. You know, if you're using Chimera Fusion, again, it's a good card if you're basing your deck on a fusion type. Mysterion, the Dragon Crown. Now, this is good, people, and I appreciate that it wasn't, but this format, it is actually quite a good card, especially when you consider using Super Poly. Now, you might ask why when you're going to go into Dragoon, because it's not there for you to go into Dragoon with. It's there as a Super Poly target. If you think about Snake Eyes, the two of their main bosses, if you like, are Flamberg, Dragon type, and Diabellstar, Spellcaster. You can use Super Poly on both those two cards, send them to the graveyard, you know, after they've done all their shenanigans or whatever, and then bring out Mysterion. That way, if they then start to special summon cards, you know, special summon themselves or they're the same type, you can activate Mysterion's effect to banish those cards. So is this format a decent card? And one a lot of people have been overlooking is the Mech Knight Crusader Avramax. Now, this is a good card because it has this non-targeting thing. So a little bit like Dragoon where you can't target it, and this powers up against special summon monsters. So it's good when your opponent's got like SP Little Knight or any other card that does target a monster, and if they're gonna the meta decks do special summon, so it's going to get a power up based on the cards that attack it if they're dumb enough to do so. Now on to the non-extra deck cards, so main deck cards. I'm going to say DD Crow. Obvious reasons, it's going to help you banish cards that are sent to the graveyard that are going to cause a lot of problems. Now, I'm not sure when the new Fiendsmith cards come out whether banishing cards are going to be relevant anymore, but we'll get to that when it gets here. But DD Crow as opposed to Bestials, even though I do like Bestials, the two main competitors these days are Snake Eyes and the Tenpai Dragons, and both of those are fire types. So it doesn't really count when you're going to be banishing light and darks with your bestial monsters. So DD Crow's a good swap. Kashtira Fenrir, because everybody knows what that card does, and quite frankly, it's pretty good against every deck except for Kashtira and Floowandereeze. Dimension Shifter, I say this in Dark Magician, and I know you're like saying why it's stupid, but if you are running cards like Branded, so you get to use like Branded Fusion, which is going to bring out Lubellion, the Searing Dragon, or whatever, which is going to allow you to send those banished cards that you may have, like Dark Magician or whatever, and then send them back to the deck. So it doesn't really harm your deck too much if you're using cards that allow you to go into the banish zones. Ash Blossom, I'm not really sure how relevant that is these days, but I would always recommend it because, on the odd chance that that card is going to be used, cards that are going to be used against you, such as somebody else using Branded Fusion, something, it is relevant. So it will help out. Now, Nibiru the Primal Being, I'm going to say is a big one because decks these days, especially the meta, are just insistent on spamming. So it's really, I run 2. I am considering running 3. Effect Veiler, I'm not really sure how good that is this current format, but I've noticed a lot of people are still using it, same as the Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Again, I'm not really sure how relevant it is this format, but people are using it to some success. So if they're getting some success out of it, use it. It's good for cards like against ours, like Dark Magician and things, but I'm not sure about Tenpai Dragons. Santa Claus and any kind of kaiju effect where you're tributing your opponent's cards is obviously going to be good. It got rid of cards like Barone, Borrowload, and a few other cards, so it's going to get rid of your opponent's boss monsters. I would probably, this format, recommend Dark Magician being turn 2, as let's face it, we all know meta players prefer to go turn 1, so if we can deal a lot of damage, us going second with that extra card that we get to pick, then great. Deal Bellstar, even though I don't run it, it is still a good card in Dark Magician 1 because it's a spellcaster, so it's got decent synergy. 2, it's a level 7, so you can go into the Xyz shenanigans. 3, it still works with Secret Village, though everyone's kind of using Deal Bellstar at the moment, so I'm not sure how much Secret Village is going to do, but still remains the same. Bestial cards, again, I would probably suggest using DD Crow, although the Bestials are good, so if you're going to use them, side deck them out in case you come across, the odd Labyrinth player or Mannadium or Voiceless Voice. Now on to the spells. So cards that I say are relevant this current format is Call by the Grave. That's always going to be good. Even at 1, it's going to be good. Super Polymerization. I don't think I need to say any more with that. And you're wondering why Garura isn't on there? Well, you'll know if you go into part 2 of my video. Spellbound. This is a card that kind of hasn't seen a right lot of play, and it is dirt cheap on eBay and play and other places, which is going to help you against Tempai Dragon because it's going to prevent that synchro summoning. Instant fusion, as I stated earlier, for cards like Millennium Eyes Restricts that are going to allow you to have that negate on your turn. You know, if you're wanting to go into branded fusion, it's going to negate that Ash Blossom. Dark Hole, because Gimmick Puppet Lock is still a thing. Duality, because it's going if you're using cards like branded fusion that's going to go into Lubellion and they try to imperm you, you can then use duality to send Lubellion to the graveyard, bring out Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, and Lubellion's effect still fires off, so you'll still end up with a Dragoon. Branded Fusion, as I said, this goes for any other fusion cards that you use. This is the best way, be it Branded Fusion, Chimera Fusion, certainly Red Eyes Fusion. It's the best way to get out Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is our main card. Triple Tactics Talent, I'm stating this because everybody uses an effect on your turn. It has been for God knows how many formats now. Forbidden Droplet, because if you're discarding a monster, you're going to get around effect monster in the cards negates, such as Appaloosa, SP Little Knight, and those variety of other cards. Lightning Storm, because even if you do Nibiru, say for instance Snake Eye board, they've still got cards in the back row for that odd Labyrinth player or Trap Tricks player you're going to come across. It's still good to get back row removal. Last thing you need to go into is to attack into something, and it's just something that's going to mess you up. Even if it is something like Magic Cylinder, which targets, by the way. Now, for the trap cards, I am recommending cards such as Infinite Impermanence. I'm not sure how good it is against Tempai and Snake Eyes because, again, they're just going to link off and it's a 1-for-1 trade, which isn't great. Evenly matched, you are giving up your battle phase, but who cares when you're getting rid of most of your opponent's cards and then you're setting up for the turn after. Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Now, this is a good card. Certainly gets rid of a lot of spell cards, so it is good if you're going first. Dimensional Barrier, again, along with Similar Fiends, is good for getting rid of those extra decked monsters that your opponent's going to use. Shadow Schism, because it gives you Winder, and that's going to help you stop your opponent from spamming so many times, either on your turn or their turn. Big Burn is a card I've been using to some success, but I am only using it one because 3 is just ridiculous. It's just going to brick way too much. But when you do see it and you are going first, it's great because a lot of cards rely on getting monsters from the graveyard. So when you activate that, you're going to banish your opponent in your opponent's entire graveyard. I believe it banishes yours as well, but who cares when you've got Dragoon on the field anyway? It just prevents them doing all that setup. It just banishes everything. Now, if you are playing against Goatee or something, then you might want to side deck that. Necrofusion, I have played to some success. Not at 1 though. Play it at 3 or 2, not at 1. 1 it kind of just seems pointless, to be quite honest. I've seen a lot of success on Omega playing it at 2. But again, it's a side deck option, especially if you're using Ref. So with Red Eyes Fusion, so if they Ash Blossom your Red Eyes Fusion, well, you've already got the cards in the graveyard, I believe. So, just set that down. You get turn 2 Dragoon, or even if your Ref goes through, if they still manage to get rid of your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon or whatever, your board, activate Necrofusion, bring out another Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Ice Dragon's Prison, good card if you're going first, because that is going to help you against cards like Snake Eyes. That's just going to allow you to banish a load of cards, or just at least steal some of their cards to prevent them from going into plays. Grave, if I could pronounce it right. Grave Digger's Trap Hole is a good trap card because, quite frankly, it's going to allow you, if you're going first, to deal with hand traps and deal 2,000 to your opponent's life points for the pleasure of it. It is a 1-for-1, which 1-for-1s are a bit of a pain these days, but it is what it is. Right, thanks for watching, guys, and go on to part 2.